This data visualization tracks the potential value of federal contract awards for artificial intelligence in 2026. The government projects a total of $91.8 billion in awards, an increase of nearly 2,000% from just 2 years prior. Simultaneously, the Supreme Court's Loper Bright decision upended decades of legal precedent by stripping regulatory authority away from federal agencies, fundamentally limiting their ability to oversee corporate and technological behavior. When billions flow into government AI systems, while the agencies meant to police that technology are stripped of their rulemaking power, the individual citizen is caught in the middle. This shift creates a vacuum where automated oversight and deepfakes can proliferate with fewer administrative guardrails to stop them. To find a defense, we have to look at the structural divide between criminal and civil law. While a criminal case can only be initiated by a state prosecutor, civil litigation allows you, the individual, to sue a defendant and demand a financial remedy directly for a specific wrong. In 2026, the legal system provides individuals with highly specialized civil tools designed specifically to counter this level of institutional overreach. Consider the impact of digital forgeries and non-consensual intimate imagery. For years, the common assumption was that once data was shared online, it was impossible for a victim to force its removal. On May 19, 2026, the Federal Trade Commission began enforcing the Take It Down Act, a law built specifically to combat this form of digital exploitation. This timeline illustrates the law's core mechanism. Once a platform receives a valid removal request, they are legally required to scrub the offending content within exactly 48 hours. Failing this deadline carries a specific cost. Platforms face a civil penalty of $53,088 per violation. The law applies across the board to social media networks, messaging apps, and video sharing platforms, leaving no legal loopholes for tech companies to ignore valid requests. Crucially, the mandate requires platforms to find and remove all known identical copies of the image. The technological burden of tracking duplicate files now rests entirely on the corporation, not the victim. By making platforms directly responsible for the content they host, TIDA eliminates the defense that digital exploitation is impossible to control. While the Take It Down Act targets digital abuse by companies, civil law also provides a shield against the physical and civil abuse of power by the government itself. If a state or local official deprives you of your constitutional rights, Section 1983 serves as the primary civil tool to hold them accountable in court. This legal tool applies when an official acts under color of law. This means they were utilizing the authority granted to them by the government, such as a police officer on duty, to commit the violation. This same standard holds prison guards and penal staff liable for civil rights violations committed within the correctional system. This covers a range of specific constitutional breaches, from Fourth Amendment unreasonable searches and arrests without probable cause, to First Amendment retaliation against public employees or private citizens. A successful suit can result in an injunction to stop the conduct or a court order for monetary damages. However, plaintiffs must still navigate the barrier of qualified immunity, which protects officials from financial liability unless the right they violated was clearly established. When those barriers are cleared, Section 1983 converts abstract constitutional protections into direct financial penalties that force institutional accountability. This landscape of civil defense also extends to economic rights. In 2026, the Department of Labor is enforcing an updated $13.65 minimum wage for covered federal contractors. At the same time, states like Oregon, Kentucky, and Rhode Island have activated aggressive consumer data privacy laws to fill the gaps in federal regulation. These legal shields share a single defining characteristic. They are entirely passive mechanisms. The FTC's enforcement portal and the federal civil courts do nothing on their own. They require an individual to step forward and formally file the complaint or initiate the lawsuit. In this post-Chevron era, the tools for accountability are available, but they only have an effect if you choose to pull the trigger.